It happens more often than I wish where someone would come to me and say, Rabbi, I'm so upset. I just heard that so-and-so spoke badly about me. What am I going to do about this? Well, I have a few answers. My name is Yitz Wyne. I'm the Rabbi of Young Israel Aish of Las Vegas. Welcome to the Life is Great community. So almost everyone we know at some time has been spoken badly about. The question is that I want to deal with tonight is, how do we deal with when someone speaks badly about us? What should our response be? So in Judaism, there was a wonderful, amazing rabbi, Rabbi Yisrael, and he was known throughout the Jewish world as the Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim literally means the one who desires life. And he wrote the authoritative books on proper speech, on what to say and what not to say. And yes, even how to respond, how to react when someone says something that they should not say about you. Now, the first book he wrote was called Shmiras lashon, and that was, which literally means to guard one's tongue, guard one's speech. And the next book he wrote was Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim means one who desires life. So it's interesting. So he actually became known by the title of his book. Everyone called him the title of his book. It was that powerful. So where does Chafetz Chaim come from? So there's a verse that says, a verse in the Bible that says, who is the person that desires life? One who guards his tongue from speaking evil. And therefore, who is the one who's a Chafetz Chaim? Someone who guards his tongue. So certainly on the front end, we do not want to be the kind of people that gossip or say bad things about others. That for sure is true. Let's talk about how we respond when others don't abide by that and they speak badly about us. So the first thing that one has to recognize, and this is something that the Chafetz Chaim, dedicated 3 chapters of his book towards, is that a person should have enough trust in God and not be real enough with the reality of God's existence, that God is one God, that everything good and everything bad comes from the Almighty, to be real with the idea that no one can help you and no one can hurt you without God's permission. This is a huge point, because immediately what happens is you divorce yourself from the person who spoke badly about you, which is really important just on an emotional level. See, if I do, as most people often do, get upset and flustered and think for a moment, wow, that person who spoke slanders against me, maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't true. For the purpose of this discussion, it really doesn't matter. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. But if I'm personalizing this, if I'm saying, wow, that person has it out for me, then what have I just done? I've gained myself an enemy. Perhaps I think I might stay up at night. I might worry about the negative consequence if people actually believe the person. However, if I stop and I say, wait a second, okay, he did the wrong thing. I'm not going to let him off the hook, by the way. That's not the point. But for now, my first response is, listen, God runs the world. So if the Almighty wants me to be damaged in a certain way, I'm going to be damaged in that way, whether or not he said anything about me. And if God does not want me to be damaged, then it wouldn't make a difference what he would say about me. I'm not going to be damaged. Just getting that point down, I think, is exceedingly calming and stabilizing. And then after you're calm and you're stable, then you can do what needs to be done to address the issue. So now what needs to be done to address the issue? Well, listen, from our perspective, the one who was spoken badly about, it is important to ask ourselves, is what they're saying true or not? That's an important point. Now, again, lashon hara, speaking badly about others, is specifically when it's true. In other words, remember, the worst kind of slander is no, it's actually true what he said. I did something bad, and this guy is now publicizing it. It's wrong for him to do that. But if it's now getting a little out there that I did something wrong, then maybe it's time that I face that wrong. Maybe it's time that I go to, if I did wrong to anyone, maybe it's time that once it's out, regardless of the fact this guy was yapping, that I actually go and I make peace with the person or make peace with the situation of the thing that I did wrong and reevaluate it. It might be God's messaging to me to arouse myself to say, okay, you know what? I was involved in the wrong thing. I shouldn't do that. And I've got to change. That's one thing. What if the thing that he said was inaccurate and was totally wrong? Like he was just like making things up, literally. So now there's two choices. The choice is, do I just ignore it? Or do I actually go and kind of shut him down? Like literally shut him down. The truth is, even if he said something that was true, I could go and shut him down. But if I'm going to go shut him down, this is what I need to know. The first thing I need to do is I need to recognize that when other people hear something bad about you, their obligation is not to believe it. You understand? Like in a Jewish society where people understand this, if you hear something bad about another person, we don't believe it, or we don't believe all of it, or we believe a small part of it, or we minimize it, or we go, la, 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 I don't even want to hear it, right? I didn't want to hear it because I don't want to be poisoned by it. Again, the Talmud tells us that when someone speaks badly about another, 3 people die. The one who's speaking, the one who's spoken of, and the one who listened to it. So you want to be a good person. Say, not only don't I speak badly about others, but I don't listen to bad stuff about others. As a matter of fact, if you know someone who gets a charge out of hearing the gossip and getting a charge, I'm not talking about they're talking bad about others, by the way. I'm just saying that for sure, terrible. But even if you know someone who they salivate over the delicious, horrible stuff, stay away from them. That's not a good quality. That is not a good quality. That's not a good person. That's a person to distance yourself from. So we have to first recognize that if the bad word goes out, others are not to believe it. The next thing is that we have to ask ourselves, should I confront the other person? And the speaker, should I go to the person and say, listen, it was wrong that you're saying this about me? Now, again, if I'm doing the wrong thing, maybe I'm saying it's wrong that you're publicizing this. It's no one's business. It's not your story to tell. It's not, this is between me and so, this is that. And you speaking about it is a terrible thing. Or you turn and say, listen, I heard that you said this about me, and I want you to know it's incorrect. Now, again, this goes into the realm of judging them favorably. Why did you speak about me? Why did you speak about me? What were you trying to accomplish by that? And to try and judge them in a way, when you're going into the conversation, we're trying to judge them favorably. Now, you might say to me, and it's reasonable, they wanted to hurt you. So why should you judge them favorably? They're the scum in this story. But again, the issue is that you have to protect yourself. But we always want to be the best people we can be. And so if you go over to someone who spoke badly about you and say, hey, listen, I heard you spoke badly about me, but I want you to know, first of all, I didn't really believe that you would say such a thing because, it's not even true. Like such a thing isn't true. And I don't know why you would, I don't think I ever hurt you. I don't think I ever did anything bad to you. As a matter of fact, I think you had a lot of gratitude to me because I helped you. So I don't know why you'd ever say something bad about me. You almost judge them favorably saying that. So, or, that kind of stuff. In other words, that's just because we're being good people. The next element about being a good person is not to hate them in your heart. It's very easy that if you hear that someone says something bad about you, say, okay, that's it. I'm writing them off. And say, like, I have no interest in them. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the kind of person that kind of forgives and forgoes and says, listen, it's not, that's it. And then of course, not even make sure you don't hate them in your heart and don't take revenge against them. Don't start speaking badly about them, and don't even bear a grudge. Don't even look at them and say, listen, I'm not like them. They spoke badly about me, so I'm not gonna, I won't be like them. There was a time in my life that I had a couple of people, and they were literally, we call them clergy killers. Not we. There's a book called Clergy Killers, and because anyone in the rabbinate or in the clergy, eventually, if they're doing something significant, they will have someone rise up against them literally just to wipe the floor with them. So over the years, thank God I've been a rabbi for many, many years, and we've met with some success, and therefore met with some people that want to wipe the floor with me. So the best advice that I ever received when dealing with one time there was a worldwide campaign to wipe me out, right? The best advice I ever got was ignore it. Like literally ignore it. And this went on for years that people would say, and they would, come after me and they'd say things, and, people would come to town and they would say things, and I ignored it and literally lived above it. And I do believe, looking back in my life, that a lot of the success and a lot of the blessings that the Almighty has bestowed upon me was simply because I got the advice and I really did my best to follow it and just literally ignore it and not even defend myself. Not even defend the allegations were totally wrong, but I didn't even defend myself. It just was a non-issue. And I said that some of them the allegations were so outlandish. I said, listen, anyone who believes this and wants to engage in it, they are clearly a disturbed person. And so, and those people that grabbed onto it were clearly disturbed people. So you realize that is the reason that I received that particular advice. That advice came from Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Philadelphia Yeshiva. And the reason he gave it to me was based on a piece of Talmud that explains that anyone that is ma'avir al midosav, that he forgoes his own honor. He says, listen, I know they're trying to knock me down, but I'm just going to forgo my honor. Then the Almighty blesses them. And that's the reality. So if you ever find yourself in a position where you've heard someone is talking smack about you, so the first thing you got to do is do a reality check for yourself on your relationship with the Almighty. Do you truly believe that no one can help you and no one can hurt you unless the Almighty gives permission? If they say it and it's really bad and God doesn't want you to be hurt, you know what? They can't touch you. And if God doesn't want you, and if God wants you to get some kind of message, even if their mouth was taped shut and they wouldn't be allowed to say anything, the Almighty is going to make sure you have that message. That message is going to come over to you, and that challenge is going to come to you. So there we go. I think we have to stop and recognize that relate to the Almighty, relate God's running the world. And then after that, you can be nice and calm if it's true. So then maybe take it as a message from God in order to go and a little further and change your ways. If it's not true, maybe if there's 5% of it that's true, in which case maybe you can adjust yourself. But you see, the way Jews have always looked at the world is that when we are challenged, we use the challenge for ourselves to become better, not to deflect the challenge and get angry and push down on others. So the next step is don't get angry at them. If you got to confront them with kindness, confront them with gentleness, give them the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully they will become better people because of you. By showing others who try and harm you kindness and love and how you're not flustered, very often that will cause them to do tshuva, and it will cause them to actually sincerely regret the wrong that they tried to do to you. Okay, my name is Rabbi Yitzwyne. I want to bring over our very favorite, our producer, Dana Rutherford, who is like the best ever. Oh. She puts these things together. Thank you, Dana. You're awesome.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Dana has some questions that were authored by some of you.
You're the best. Hi, everyone.
Okay. Here we go.
So we have...
Get in here so they can see your face.
We have quite a few questions today.
Oh, my gosh.
And they're really interesting. So the first one says, what if you notice a switch in a group of people's behavior towards you, and you suspect someone has shared a negative thing about you with that group of people? What should you do? I don't think you should ask, but what if you're so uncomfortable you feel worried all the time about it?
Okay, so the thing is, you ignore it. You ignore it. We treat others based on how we should treat them, not on how they treat us. The reality is, most often we treat most people in accordance with how they're treating us. But like with happiness and love and most things in life, we're supposed to be active, not reactive. So if you literally ignore it and you walk in and you show love and kindness and happiness and interest in the other people, eventually they will come around. And again, this is because you don't even know that they've heard anything. And I would say the same answer is even if you know they've heard something, if you know they've been exposed to something and maybe it was true, maybe it was something bad that you did too, and they're acting a little funky, you know what? Unless they bring it up to you, you just go forward like it doesn't exist.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question says, 2 of my dear friends have spoken lashon hara about each other, and I want to help them rebuild their relationships so that we can all spend time together. What should I do to help the situation? Both are open to the reconciliation, but the pain runs deep for both people. What should I do?
Okay, so there you go. So, there's a medrash about Aaron and Cohen. I don't know if you should do, I'm skirting the answer, by the way, but I'll tell you this wonderful thing that Aaron and Cohen used to do. It says that Aaron, this was Moses' brother, so he loved peace and pursued peace. And how did he do it? He would go to that situation, go to one of the friends and say, "Oh, I was speaking with the other guy, and he told me he was so sorry, he's so upset. He really wants to reconcile, but he's so embarrassed to come over to you and do that." And then they'd go to the other one and say the same thing to the other one. When the two people would see each other, they'd just hug each other and they would come close together. Now, it might be that you could do that. It might be that if they're open to reconciliation, which is the easiest case, by the way. Usually one of them is not open to reconciliation. You go to them and you say, "Hey, listen, can I just say that you're sorry and you're open to reconciliation?" Like, you just ask them, "Are you okay if I speak to them on your behalf and say, listen, he's sorry, he said it, I wish he didn't say it." They'd like to put it behind you. And if you can do that, then that's a tremendous thing, because bringing peace between people is a tremendous blessing. So it's a big mitzvah and tremendous blessing.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question says, how can you ensure that your husband or wife doesn't complain or speak lashon hara about their spouse after a big fight, especially if they think it's okay to just blow off steam with their close friends?
Well, that number, I don't know, it's not one, but number 2, 3, 7, and 10 and 55 rule in marriage is if you're angry at your spouse, don't blow off steam and tell anybody. Certainly never tell the parents, right? Never tell the parents. Never tell the kids, right? In other words, like, you really should never speak badly about your spouse to anyone, because you and your spouse are together. You're one. In the Talmud's kind of like humor, it says, if a person were to pick up a knife and cut the right hand, with the right hand pick up the knife and then cut the left hand. It's ridiculous. You're one unit. So it really should not make a difference, unless you're getting into the realm of abuse, in which case, no, you need to share with someone what's going on. But if they're just annoying, or that maybe they're coming home a little late, or they're not picking up the socks, or they barked at you for something, don't just call and say, "Yeah, my husband's such a jerk." Don't do that, because remember, you will most probably make up with your spouse, and everyone else will still be angry at your spouse for mistreating you. So once it goes out of your unit, then you've got a much bigger problem, and other people will view your spouse in a negative light. So I would caution anyone from speaking badly. You got a rabbi, you have a therapist, perhaps, you have a friend, perhaps, if you need to speak about, and that's, and when do you get over there? When things get dangerous, when you think, maybe there's something really majorly wrong with the person, maybe he's doing something very, very damaging to you or kids or something like that, in which case, then of course you've got to say something. But other than that, you don't want to speak about others.
Thank you. And the next question says, what if you find that someone has spoken gossip about you, and then you confront them in a kind way, but in your discussion about it with them, you find that they're completely unrepentant about it, and they tell you they intend to cause you more issues in the future? What should you do?
You got to trust in the Almighty, stay far away from them, and ignore them. That's it. You just ignore them. Listen, the Almighty runs the world. God runs the world. The Almighty God could like totally wrap their, they can get hit by a car when they leave your house. I don't know. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? But it's true. Like we just don't know what can happen. So you turn to God, ask God for protection. We say this. We ask God to protect us from our enemies and to remove their evil schemes every day in davening. People that hear this and they're like, oh, come on, it's so religious. Well, this is what we believe. Like we ask God every single day to protect us and to remove the evil schemes from people that might wish us harm. So you should do that, and you should just stay nice and above it. All right. Thank you so much, Dana.
Thank you.
Okay, if you have any questions, please send them to me, rabbiyitzwyne@gmail.com, rabbiyitzwyne@gmail.com. Thanks for listening to Life is a Great Podcast, and we'll see you again soon.